CNC Talks with Jatinder.
All right, good morning. I hope everyone can see us here. So we're still sort of settling down and just getting used to this. As you guys know, this is the first time we are doing this. To start with, I'll just do a quick introduction. I've got my great mate here, Aaron from Melbourne. He's joining us from Melbourne. He runs his YouTube channel, DCT Teacher One. I think most of you know him anyway. So, Aaron, quickly introduce yourselves, please.
Good morning, everyone. How are we, guys? Thanks for joining us today on the Masso Live Hangout. It's really good. I've never done a live hangout before, so I feel a little bit special, although my mother always said I was special. But if you guys don't know me, my name's Aaron, and I'm a high school technology teacher down here in Melbourne, Australia. And before that, I was actually a motor mechanic many years ago when I was a little boy. So, yes, one day when I grow up, I'll be a better CNCer too.
Great. Thank you, Aaron. And next we got Ben here from Sydney. He makes these great CNC routers in Sydney. I think I met Ben at an exhibition and it's been great mates. So, hey, Ben, how about you introduce yourself?
G'day guys, my name is Ben. I'm from 3D Tech, as Jatinder said, in Sydney. We make hobby and light industrial CNC routers, the one you can see over Jatinder's right shoulder there. And I'm really excited to be here and talk to you all. Hopefully I know some of you out there, and if not, we'll know you soon. So yeah, welcome. Thanks for tuning in. Great.
So just very quickly, I know there are a lot of people tuning in all over the world. We've got a lot of people coming in, definitely from Australia and New Zealand. One of the things we would love to see that, where you guys from. So, in the chat message, please put in maybe your country, where you're from, so we can see. And at the same time, your questions. We're pretty open for discussion. Basically, as some of you know, a few weeks ago, we met at Autodesk here in Sydney. John Saunders from NYCNC was here, and we had a great meetup there. We pretty much had all the great brains of CNC there. And while having this discussion, a lot of people said, there are so many questions that we need to ask and discuss about CNC, and it's just not about making stuff, all the way from sourcing the parts to learning the CAM software. It's a quite a wide topic on its own. Just getting a part machined on CNC. So we've been talking to Aaron, Ben, other guys, and we said, hey, you know what? Let's do a live session, a podcast where people can come in. So the basic idea for today's program, we don't have much set as to any topics. It's more of a feedback. We want to listen to your comments, what you guys want to talk about. So, over time we can break down those into more programs. And, I think the next program is going to be more structured. We're going to have a topic, and we'll try to bring people, maybe, people who specialize in their field. So please have your comments coming in. So while I have your comments coming in, and Ben, maybe you can have a quick look at those comments and see what kind of countries we have there.
I've been looking there, Jat, and they're all coming in from the States, from the USA, North Carolina, Georgia, Tennessee.
Right.
Yep, beautiful parts of the world, of America. There, we've got Chris up in New South Wales.
Great people, mate.
Chris from Cut and Carb. We've even got a young in here from Iran, and
wow.
Yeah, so there's people. South Dakota, SD, I think that would be Jim. But yeah, Texas, and it's looking good.
That is great. Yeah, like I always get surprised and excited how big CNC is in US, how much they love CNC and making stuff there. It's just amazing. So thank you all for tuning in. So while people are still putting in their messages, Aaron, I would like to share your experiences, how you got into CNC. I know you teach CNC at school. Yeah. And at the same time, I know you got great machines in your garage, and you do all these great, machining tutorials and all those things. So, we always talk about, the passion that you have. that you share with the kids. And one can only share the passion if they have the passion in themselves first. So please tell me how you got started into CNC, and what keeps you motivated, and just your life story, mate.
Okay, guys. So I'm actually a Queenslander. I was born on the Gold Coast up in Queensland. It's a really sunny, hot part of the world up there in Australia, sort of the middle on the east coast there, if you looked at it on a map. And I started out as a motor mechanic. I left school when I was 15 and went into motor mechanicking. I did that for about 10 years and did an apprenticeship, did a trade and all that sort of stuff. And then I jumped into engineering. I actually worked at Dreamworld on the Gold Coast, and so Dreamworld's a theme park, pretty much like a miniature Disneyland if you look at it that way. And on the engineering department, I eventually became their main machinist. And I was machining predominantly roller coaster wheels and train bogies and train wheels and that sort of stuff. Been a manual machinist most of my life. And then I went back to university back in 2001. And I had a very passionate lecturer, actually a Dr. Ivan Chester. And Dr. Chester was very passionate about CAD and CNC, and he could see that that should be the main focus in the high school curriculum. And it was very infectious, so I got a dose of his CNC infection, and it was for the better. And I started using CAD from PTC, and then along the way I used SolidWorks, and now of course I only use one CAD cam, and that's Fusion 360. But when I started teaching down here in Melbourne, we got into CNC, and a good friend of mine who's also been a mentor to me, another doctor, a PhD doctor, is Dr. Tony Pikachu from Intellector. And Dr. Tony Jatinder, he looks like Einstein. He's got crazy hair, and he's operating on an Intel Celeron, and I'm down here on a bloody AMD chip or something like, from the 60s or something, so he's really above me. And just using the Roland CNC machines. And then I'm good friends also, guys. If you're listening in, people who's joined us, I've got a really good mate here in Melbourne. His name's Luke, and Luke runs a channel called Crud CNC or Crud Bucket. He has 2 channels, and Crud and I fly radar control helicopters together. And of course, he's a better pilot than I am. And I got him started on CNC, and then we've been pushing each other. So we bought a couple of manual machines and converted them, and which led me all the way to Masso. I wanted a good controller. I really had a gut full of the previous one. I won't mention its name here on it was a PC based controller. So I got into Masso and converted my mill, and I reached a stage with my home machine that I converted that I couldn't progress any further. It didn't have a tool changer, or power drawbar, and sure, I could have done those things, but I was just so sick of it. I wanted a turnkey machine. And I think I'd been spoilt because currently I work at Harvester Technical College, which is on the western side, western suburbs of Melbourne. So tough, blue-collar, working-class area, guys. And we've got some big Haas machines in there, and all the way from the States. And the Haas are a fantastic product. And, being
from USA.
being very spoilt, working on the Haas's at school. And, and the kids can see it too, guys, You can make... Sure, it's great to learn how to manual machine, and I still teach manual machining, but once the kids see CNC, their eyes light up. It's like one of those dolls that you squeeze and the eyes pop out. So the kids, you can really hook them in, hook, line and sinker, and get them passionate and enthusiastic about CNC and engineering in general, guys. So
you're right.
Pretty much my life's pretty much where I am in my life at the moment, guys. So I love teaching. It's a great job. Love working with the kids, and hopefully, I can steer them on their path through journey, because I don't know if the listeners understand, we have got huge disruption. It's here and more is coming across the world. So we're talking about if you don't understand disruption, just look at Blockbuster Video. Gone. So Blockbuster Video was the biggest thing, and the disruption to Blockbuster was Netflix. Netflix, Stan. All this sort of stuff. So even in the workforce now, guys, if there's huge disruption, automation's here to stay. We can't get rid of it, and it's only going to be more and more automation. Coming.
One of the things that you mentioned, Aaron, like the whole excitement of CNC. Once you actually see a machine working, it's I remember, I think I saw it at first time at TAFE, and they wouldn't allow us to go near the machine.
Yeah. Little plug for Autodesk Fusion.
Yeah, sure. And just looking at the machine, it was so exciting. And after that, it was just like in my head all the time. And you're right. And at sometimes I also see that it's kind of missing at times when we are trying to teach kids.
Yeah.
So the kids need to actually have the exposure on the machines to be able to see what they can do, and then think with their own heads and come up with ideas. I believe at times CNC, even at uni when I was studying, was more like another course that you just have. And I remember they used to tell us to learn G code. Yeah, and you're like, exactly. Okay, what are we supposed to do with that? And give us a machine. And they're like, hey, we don't have one. They had big ones. I don't know what they use it for, but they never had anything for us. It's like, telling you to, hey, I'll teach you how to drive a car. You just read a book and you never sit in the car. It's just crazy.
Exactly. And if I can jump in there, one of the people listening in at the moment, his name's 4-Bolt Clevo. He says manual machining skills are a must-have. Nothing like feeling what a cutter about to break feels like on a mill. And you know what, buddy? You're absolutely correct. And I think you didn't hear what I said. I still teach manual machining. My students spend the first 6 months of their year course doing manual machining. But while they're doing that, they're learning CAD, they're learning CAM, and they're actually getting, taste into this CNC. So I'm a high school teacher. So the kids I teach aren't apprentices. They're pre-apprentices. They're making their choice in life where they want to go. And what you're saying, Jacinda, resonates with me because in Australia, we have the TAFE system. And any child doing an engineering apprenticeship, would you believe they're usually not taught CAD and they're not taught CNC? That's a post-trade certificate. And I think that is just ridiculous in this day and age, guys, okay? If you're running, there are small manual machining shops around here in Melbourne, guys. But I tell you what, and they do a great job, but there's fewer and fewer and fewer manual machining shops. Mm-hmm. And if you're not running high-speed steel, if you're not running carbide tip tooling, you're not there sharpening high-speed steel tips and running them in a CNC machine, you're going to go broke, simple as that. And I think, the level of training we've got here in Australia, I think they need a good shake-up and wake up and smell the coffee, as the old saying goes, because disruptions here, guys, and we need to get on board with it and get on top of it.
Yeah, no, for sure. So we'll continue discussion on that, and I'll just quickly check with Ben. Hey, do you know how many people are watching online right now, Ben?
I can have a quick look.
Yeah.
There'd be a few there. There's
44.
Awesome.
How many, sorry?
44.
Oh, great.
Oh, cool.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you. Now that's a big one for us.
There's just a couple of questions there. Sorry to rudely interrupt Ben. Someone had mentioned before about updates. Jatinda, the question about
Okay, I probably missed that.
What's coming in the updates? Another one. There's a question there from Chris from Cut and Carve Option about is probing cycles and masto finding bores and outside of squares, rectangles. So.
Okay.
Just quickly.
Probing cycles very quickly. We are working on that, and we're going to have those probing cycles, all the standard probing cycles in Meso. So what we're trying to do is come up with a good interface so you can do a couple of clicks on the screen and be able to probe your part, set it to 0. So yeah, we're definitely working on it. We just, I would say, a bit overwhelmed with orders and feature requests at this stage. So we are growing with time. It's taking a bit of time, but yeah, we're definitely working on those features.
Yeah. Cool.
All right, so we'll go to some more questions. I'll quickly, before we forget, we need to get an introduction from Ben. Ben, tell us about how you got into CNC and what are you doing now and what keeps you excited.
Yeah. Okay. So I originally became interested in CNC watching one of the American hot rod builder shows on Boxtel as a kid. Probably 14, 15 years old. I remember watching one of the garages. They were building a hot rod, and the boss called out to one of his staff, "We need a custom set of rims." And I saw him sit down, draw it up, throw a big chunk of alloy in a machining center, and bang, 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 out come 4 beautiful custom design wheels, and I knew from that point that it was something I had to have in my life. And I was already building my first car at the time.
Yeah.
And the possibilities in my mind were just it was crazy. I knew from that point, and I'd been watching Gray's online sort of auctions and looking at picking up a secondhand machining center for years and years. They were always 20-30 grand and just a little bit clapped out, and all running very expensive controllers. And I knew that if one died, I'd be up for another 20 grand in a controller card. So it was always just a little bit out of my reach, and I came back to it every 6 months or a year for many years, like a lot of people do. There's so much info out there, and it's such a big thing to get into CNC that it seems to take quite a while, a lot of reading and a lot of getting put off and coming back to it with new energy. Finally, I met someone who bought an open source kit from the States and failed to put it together. And so I picked the machine up for cents on the dollar and had it going the next day. And I was so excited, and I just started the process of making it stronger, making it bigger, customizing it, and barely using it really, just trying to the interest became now in evolving the machine that I'd picked up, and it turned from there into a business quite by accident, and and it's still a hobby, which is great because I'm working in something that is also my hobby, and I'm working with really interesting people on a daily basis. All the people I speak to every day are excited. They're in that stage where they're still trying to process all the information on the internet. What kind of machine do I use? Am I looking for servos or ball screws or it's great to be able to help and talk to people about things on a daily basis. That is also my interest. And unfortunately, I don't actually get a lot of time to use my machine because it is also work.
Yeah.
I originally, when I first picked up the flatbed router, my hobby at the time, I had no kids, so I had hobbies at that time, and it was flying multi-rotor, the drones. And being an absolute shocking pilot, I was crashing, rebuilding constantly. So I wanted a router table for making my carbon fiber frames.
Cool.
And that's what really put me over the edge was needing that functionality, and it's all gone from there. Now it's a daily play and work.
Yeah, no, that's great. And that reminded me when you said it's a long journey, and then you started a few times. I remember my first CNC. I shouldn't say the CNC, maybe not. I was still at school. I had an old HP inkjet printer that died. Not died. It was a great printer actually, but maybe I killed it. And I was trying to make circuit boards, and I was trying to make it with a permanent marker, trying to put it in ferric chloride, and you're trying to etch out a circuit board. And I thought, I saw a plotter somewhere, and I said, hey, why not I make something like that? So I actually end up taking the cartridge off, all the electronics, put a little 8051 microcontroller. That's old. And, I wrote a program that you designed the circuit in AutoCAD DXF file, and that it would go and plot it on a PCB. And later I put a small drill. That was my first CNC. I never even realized that's a CNC for years.
That's right. Most definitely, yeah.
Yeah. So,
most definitely.
So many years I didn't do anything with CNC, and then I came back again, built a few in my garage, and then again started working for mining companies. So it's been on and off, But again, when I went to mining, all the manufacturing was happening on the CNC, so it came back.
Yeah.
So it is like that, but everything gets done on CNC these days. Whatever
100%.
field you go in. So.
And speaking of CNC, Ben, with your company, there's a question that just come across there. Chris from Cut and Carve would like to know: do you have an Instagram account?
I do. It's been around for quite a while and not been getting any love. So just recently, I've decided to pull it out and start posting on it. So we do. It's 3D Tech, and while there's not a lot on it at the moment, we'll be pushing some things through there.
I know, mate. Both of us, we need to do a lot of work on social media.
Okay, so for those people watching in, live streaming is fantastic, and like I said, this is the first time I've done it. But I'm an avid YouTube user, but I usually only post videos once a week or once a fortnight on YouTube because they take a long time to do.
Yeah.
And so they're a lot of work. But if you want to check us guys out and see what we do on a day-to-day basis, and I post a bit more frequently on Instagram. So Ben's Instagram channel is 3D Tech, and maybe Jatinda can put a link in the description after this live streaming finishes, and to save it in the description, you can go back in and edit it.
Yeah, sure.
And Jatinda's is Masso CNC, I believe, isn't it, on Instagram?
Yep.
And guys, my username here, DCT Teacher One, is the same thing on Instagram as well. And if you want to know what the DCT stands for, it actually means Design, Creativity, and Technology. It's a curriculum area that I taught in down here in Melbourne. So that gives you an idea. A lot of people go, "Oh, where's DCT? What does that mean?" So
yeah. Awesome.
There's an interesting comment there from Bush, BW Bush. What's next with the Masso, and what cool things are you working on? I'm going to drop you in it here, Jatinda, because I know a lot of what you're up to. I don't know what you're looking to share, but can you give the guys a heads up on what's happening next with the Masso?
Quite a few little tweaks and changes. Definitely, we're trying to work on the interface. As already you guys know that we've introduced mouse. We will be introducing touch screens. That's one thing. Probing cycles with pretty much like a wizard-like screen. So you'll see a 3D part on the screen, and you should be able to probe your parts. Wi-Fi, we're working on that. It's been a bit delayed. We're also working on how to get help on a certain topic. So let's say if you're trying to, you have a question about jogging. So basically, what we're working on is if you click the jog button and there's going to be a help key on the keyboard, you press that, you'll see a little QR code on the screen. You snap it to your phone, and you'll see everything on your phone in regards to jogging the machine. So if you need help on homing, you click the home button, and then you can snap on the screen. Then you'll see the same way. So these are a few of the things, and in the background we have other things. We have 3 new tool changes coming in for milling machines: the umbrella type, the linear tool changer on routers, just like on a machine like this, and on a high-speed drilling machine. It's called a robot drill, I think. At one of the brother machines, it's got a tool changer. It's a round tool changer. It's a high-speed tool changer. So we're adding those 3 in the next release. So those are some of the things that I can remember.
I'm really excited about the touchscreen. I've got to say, it'll be nice to remove keyboard and mouse from the nasty environment behind me. And I think the touchscreen is going to make a really solid difference.
Yeah, well, that was one of the questions Dave Gatton just asked. Touchscreen soon, question mark.
Okay, so I need to introduce Dave. He's a great mate of mine from US. And actually, I should thank Dave, for basically indirectly for this live session, because I actually went live first time on his channel. He makes these great machines in US. He has a great channel. Dave, if you can put some comments in the chat about your YouTube channel name. So he's got a great channel. These guys get online and discuss about machines. And really great guys. I've got Mark on his channel and a few more guys.
And there's another David Smaglik. He's asking, is there a possibility of having the Masso read I, J, and K values in G code, especially with the lathe?
They do work. They already work. They're supported in.
They're supported
already. Yeah. So
Okay.
That doesn't have to do anything. It already works there.
Oh, cool.
And just a note there's a few comments that we have missed. We'll go back through, and anything that we don't discuss here, we'll try and get some comments in on the replies in on the YouTube chat
comments
there.
Of course. Yeah, it's I think we're doing pretty well. I was kind of nervous, there are too many things, the messages coming up and, whatever. But no, it's good. And especially I have 2 of you to balance up, I would have been terrible myself. So just another question, because we've been doing feedback from clients about this show. One of the key questions that always pops up all the time, even if I meet people or online, people, especially here in New Zealand and Australia, they're always asking this question about, it's so hard to get parts. I've seen that myself, especially in the US. There's so many options because, as I said, US is so big with CNC. It's so easy
massive,
yeah.
Huge audience. We are us Australians are just a drop in the ocean.
So I want to actually one by one hear both of your experiences, because Aaron, you've converted a manual machine to a CNC, so you've gone through the process and even getting the first machine itself. So I want to just get some idea how hard that was. Any ideas where you can get parts from? Any good and bad experiences? And then same with you, Ben.
Yeah. So look, probably the hardest thing for a normal person, that doesn't have any machining ability to convert a CNC machine, is actually making the conversion plates, to actually the mechanical conversion plates that will house the bearings, that will house the stepper motors or servo motors and that sort of thing. Are you going to do direct drive? Are you going to do belt drive? So direct drive is really good. You get the you know what I mean? You get really good torque with direct drive. Or do you run a belt system with either step up or step down ratio, so you can get, more torque, lower feed rate, or high feed rate and lower torque. It's a trade-off, as you know. The other probably one of the hardest things is doing the electronics. So if you don't have those basic skills, fortunate for me, as you know, I was a motor mechanic before I was a teacher. So as a motor mechanic, we did learn to do basic machining. We did learn automotive electronics and electrics, and rewiring, and how to do an alternator and a starter motor and all that sort of stuff. So for me, I didn't find it too hard. But like I said, making those conversion parts. So my first CNC conversion that I did with it was a clone Grizzly G074. There's Chinese companies, making all these variants, and I bought mine from a guy called Stuart Duncan from Titan Machinery up on the Central Coast. And I actually made all my components manually on my manual lathe, and turned everything and forged or chucked it and bored it, and it took me bloody ages. And then once I got the Haas at school, I started punching out some kits at school in my spare time. And what a lot of people don't realise in education, guys, sure, you get the money to buy the machine, but there's no money left to do any training. So all my CNC training, the Department of Education hasn't spent. That's how much they've spent on me, Jatinder and Ben, for CNC training. I'm more pretty much self-taught, hang out, pique people's brains, and I've been
that's the only way to do it, isn't it?
Exactly.
A lot of late nights on the internet and watching other people operate a machine. You always learn something interesting watching somebody else.
Exactly, and it's not going to happen via reverse osmosis. You're not going to sit there and all of a sudden all this CNC knowledge is just going to drift into your brain. It ain't going to happen.
You've got to get in there and break cutters and
exactly.
And trial and error until it stops happening.
Exactly, guys. And it's like learning CAD. I have a lot of teachers who struggle learning CAD, and you'll probably find why I put a lot of my tutorials up on how to use CAD, and that's for the students and to help those teachers that are struggling. And like for me, when I learned Fusion, I'd been lucky. I'd learned PTC Pro Desktop, then I'd played around with SolidWorks. But I used to just sit on my lounge with my MacBook on my lap and my Chihuahua on the other side of my lap, and I'd be just drawing all the school projects and just drawing anything. Find a model, find something in your toolbox like a V block and draw it and that sort of stuff. So apart from that, Jatinder, I think the better thing too was when I put the Masso on the machine and I got rid of the old stepper motors. I went to closed loop. I got on and I was put onto those cars. There's a gentleman here watching at the moment, Chris from Cut and Carve, and Chris put me onto those closed loop steppers, and they're great because now you've got a closed loop system. You didn't have an open loop. And if people are wondering what's the difference between closed loop and open loop, guys, so with an open loop stepper system, you have no feedback. So with closed loop, there's constantly, usually if you're doing, say you're drilling 10 holes in aluminium in an open loop stepper motor system, By about the 10th hole in a PEC drill cycle, you'll probably find that you haven't punched all the way through. And that's because the controller's sent out the signal, moved so many steps. It thinks it's done it, but it hasn't done it. With a closed loop system, it will keep pushing until it reaches that encoder value, then back off. Have I explained that pretty right there, Jatinder? You're the engineer, mate.
Yeah, mate. Yeah. Like, in steppers, losing a step or missing a step, it can occur. Depends on a lot of issues, overloading and whatnot. But yeah, if you don't have an encoder feedback on the system, then you basically don't know if you've missed a step. Yeah. So the feedback, those hybrid stepper drives, what they call them, I think, they're really good in that sense. Is you don't have to pay all the amount for a server system, because a lot of times small size machines, they work great with steppers. Some people also think, hey, steppers aren't that accurate. They're really accurate. So accuracy-wise, there's no difference. Yeah. The main difference comes to maybe torque and the high RPM on servers. Steppers also have good torque on low RPMs, so they're really good. But yeah, as Aaron was saying, if you have a feedback system with the built-in encoder, if you have missed a step, first of all, the drive is going to try to fix it. If it can't fix it, then it's going to alarm out. It's going to send an alarm signal back to Mesa, and Mesa will basically stop everything, all your drives, your spindle, coolant, everything, and it's going to display a message on the screen saying, hey, your Y-axis motor has gone bad. So rather than one motor stopping and the other two axes pushing against the material, at least something's gone bad.
Yeah, exactly. But when I say that, guys, on if you're using flatbed routers and that, they're fine. It's when you go to a vertical machining center, when you start drilling steels and drilling cycles with aluminium, that's where you'll find you lose steps. Apart from that, I never lost a step on X and Y, or even in my router. I had a router before I had that converted CNC machine, and I never really lost a step running a cutter. Would that be your experience, Ben?
Yeah, I have Z issues occasionally, especially in a lot of 2.5D sort of routing where you're running the Z really hard. Yeah. I do find the occasional misstep when the acceleration profiles are too high, being that you are picking up a heavy spindle vertically rather than just moving something along. And
exactly.
And so if I'm getting lost steps, it'll be in the Z axis. I don't have a closed loop system, so I'm not as lucky as you guys. I have to consider during my cam setup exactly what the machine's capable of and make sure I'm working within that limit, because if I'm not there and I lose a step, it's catastrophic.
Yeah, that's right. And speaking of CAD cam, can I just jump in? Sorry, Ben. Gavin Bath's just joined us on the live stream now. Gavin is a consultant, and I forget his official title. Gavin can jump in here in a minute and type it, with CAD Pro Systems in New Zealand. So CAD Pro are one of my channel's unofficial sponsors. Okay, they help me with my post processes and that sort of stuff as well. So Gavin, I don't know if you want to just type in there, mate. A new version of Fusion 360 just came out. I don't know. Did you see that, Jatinder and Ben?
Yeah, I did. I picked it up last night.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. Yeah. So Gavin, can you just type in there, mate? I know there's a little bit of a lag there in between our speaking and typing there, but
official title geek.
Yeah, geek, and he's put in there CAD manufacturing technology specialist. Thanks for watching, Mark Kyle. Mark's heading off to Mark Kyle has got a Masso CNC controller as well, Jatinder.
Yeah. And he was at the Autodesk meetup.
He came up to Sydney with John Saunders, and Mark. Ben, you would have met Mark too. Mark's got his own aeroplane that he built and flies.
Yeah, mate, he's crazy.
But apparently, I don't think Mark's aeroplane will lift a full-figured man into the air, will it, Mark? So probably I won't get a ride, will I, mate? Anyway, so Gavin put in their whole dialogue is massively. So we're talking about, if you've just joined us, we're talking a little bit about Fusion 360 here. And Gavin, who is also Autodesk Expert Elite, he knows this sort of stuff. He goes, whole dialogue is massively improved. You can add threads when you create holes. So that's cool. Yeah. Oh, and generative design, guys. So generative design in the latest version of Fusion is insane technology. Now, if you're listening and you don't understand what generative design is, traditionally when engineers draw parts, we like to draw chunky, solid parts that, look like this. Generative design is really, when you see generative design, it looks alien. It nearly looks like it's adopted. How do I explain it in my Homer Simpson knowledge here? It looks like DNA. So if you've got a spare second when you're not busy, guys that are listening, Google Autodesk generative design. It'll blow you away. Now, Airbus actually did this. One of their in Airbus on, I think it was the 380. I'm not sure, or a smaller one. They have a wall behind the jump seat, I think it is, where the flight attendants sit.
Right.
And by using generative design, now the only way to make some of this stuff with generative design, guys, is to actually laser sinter it, 3D print it. Okay. It doesn't lend itself to traditional, subtractive machining practices. And Airbus found out by redesigning this back wall partition over the life cycle of that aeroplane, it saved hundreds of thousands of dollars, reduced weight, less greenhouse gases, all this sort of stuff. So yeah, look into it, guys. Generative design is really cool.
We should probably get Gavin on the show sometime, Aaron. That'll be good to share his experiences, and because he's in New Zealand. A lot of clients I know, they're very interested in Australia and New Zealand. Definitely, it's local, for us. As we were just talking about getting parts, getting the right information aligned, it can be tough. So yeah, just knowing the right people, getting the right advice, it's really
for sure. So Gavin's just typed back, sorry, but that's not quite true, Aaron. It probably isn't, Gav, but the way I tell a story sells it. So, but anyway, that's my rendition on it. What I think of. I've never done generative design, but anyway.
I haven't even heard about it. So no, it's definitely something.
Yeah. So Gavin's just typed in the latest iteration of these tools will take the manufacturing process into account and generate designs to suit. So you can generally design a part to be CNC machined. Okay, cool. Okay. Yeah. Well, some of the parts that I've seen, Gav. So those people that are listening, I was really, really fortunate last year. Autodesk Australia sponsored me to go to Vegas and to go to Autodesk University and then fly over to San Francisco to Pier 9. And Pier 9 is where the Instructables are located upstairs as well. And it blew my mind, guys. I've never been to such a big conference in my life. And for any Australians watching, there's an Australian movie featuring Shane Jacobson called Kenny. I don't know if anyone's watched it. And Kenny went to a big toilet conference in Texas, and Autodesk University blew my mind. I've never seen something so big. But the generative design parts I saw at the gallery in San Francisco on Pier 9, there's no way, Gav, you could have machined those, buddy. They had to be laser sintered, so that's why I said that. But obviously, it keeps changing. So yeah. So anyway, Gavin's come back there. Joining you guys to talk tech sometimes would be cool. So there you go. There's
great. So we'll definitely put that into our notes.
Yeah.
So a few more points that we've been trying to, part of just giving a layout to these future programs. I know people want to talk about a lot of stuff, so we're trying to keep this program very open. It's not limited to say, hey, Masso or CAM or certain type of machine, because as we all said, we never had anything in mind when we started making these machines or the controllers, for example. We were just playing with stuff. I'm still playing with stuff. So one of the things, you guys can leave in the chat even later if you're watching this offline, what kind of things you would want to discuss or hear in the next programs, something with CAD. Is it something with in regards to Masso only? You might have some expectation that, hey, if you can have more information on Masso or different, as I said, CAM or getting parts or anything, because it really depends what you guys want, the information you want. We can present a program in a certain way, but again, you can say, hey, there's this maybe Fusion 360 extrusion videos. There's so many, I don't need to see another one. Maybe you need to see something special. Maybe, Aaron, we need to do a special video on getting, how to set up the post in Fusion from Masso, pushing it all the way to the Masso. If you guys need something like this, more specific, so please let us know. And also another point was people been asking, how we discussed about sourcing parts and all those things. Places like Makerspace. So as we discussed before, people in Sydney, if they are not aware, there's a great makerspace in Marrickville. That's near the Sydney airport. So you can go there, and in fact, they've got one of Ben's machine running a master controller, and they're running classes there. So you can actually do courses to learn about CNC machining. And I've personally spent time myself teaching. It's a great place. They have all sorts of woodworking, ceramics, welding, and whatnot. So go on their website. We'll probably put their website in the description later. So if you can Google Makerspace Sydney, you'll probably find them. A lot of people want to, also discuss about other makerspaces in Australia. So we would love to hear your comments, because then people can come in to those places to do work and basically meet like-minded people. So yeah, if you know a makerspace or great place where people get together and do machining, not even like CNC manual machining or any kind of machining they do, so please let us know. And I have another quick announcement. As some of you guys know, we're doing a free giveaway for Maso. So we'll be announcing the winner next week. So please make sure you go on the website, register yourself. You just need to register yourself, and that gets you in the draw. And we give you a Maso for free. So we're going to do a random draw. The link is in the description of this video. It's freebie.maso.com.au.
Awesome.
So please remember that.
And of course, there's no sense of everyone coming back to look if they won, because they know I'm going to win it, aren't they?
Come on, we were not supposed to talk about this, Aaron. It's live, mate. All right. So that's pretty much the things that I've had in my list, and some other things, Ben, maybe you or Aaron, you want to discuss about, any plans for the new program or general thoughts?
Yeah, look, just quickly then, because I want to hear a bit from Ben as well, because I've been talking a bit too much, guys. But yeah, look, I'm thinking I've got a couple of videos that I'm planning to get out soon. I'm thinking about doing a slingshot as well. Slingshot, doing a bit of a 3D printing review on my 3D printer behind me over my left shoulder here. The other thing I've been thinking about too is actually running some CNC and CAD CAM training. I'm not set up at the moment. I'd be trying to run that as a very small class out of my home here. Pretty much similar to like what Kevin Ellingson does for John Saunders over in the States, but not at that scale. Run it, 1 or 2 people or something like that, where they can come in, learn CAD, learn how to CAM, and then CNC machine apart by using a 3D printer, by using a CNC mill, and by using a CNC router as that. So that's some of the stuff that I've got for me coming in. And it's not about getting rich or making money or anything. It's nothing like that at all, guys. I'm a school teacher, so that's my real job.
And I know you'll be machining parts anyways, mate, in your garage. I was there, and it was a great place to be. Seriously.
Exactly. But Ben, how about you, buddy? What have you got? Big plans for 3D tech?
Oh yeah, we've got plans to grow, and we've got a few new products that we've been working on for quite a while that I think we're coming close to starting to talk about. So I won't say a lot about that just yet. But what I did want to mention is I'm really interested to see more people getting into CNC and into machining generally, and into electronics and into robotics and all of these sort of technologies. And I think a great topic, whether it was for a discussion for the podcast or offline, would be working at how to reduce that time to getting into CNC that we've all gone through, whether it's understanding the workflow, what is CAD, CAM, how does that translate to a machine, and what do I need out of a machine if I'm going to be sourcing one for myself? Am I looking for a router or a vertical mill or a machining center? And am I looking for ball screws? Am I looking for all of these theories and technologies and different sort of decisions you have to make before you can go ahead and source yourself a machine and start learning to use it. I'd I'd really like to see how we could streamline that a bit, so it's not a 5-year process for getting new people into CNC.
Yeah, I think the best for people learning, especially on your machines, Ben. If I had one of your machines, wink, wink. I'd start off pretty much getting people to engrave first. Like step one, this is my philosophy: get into engraving, and then jump into 2D machining, and then jump into 3D machining. And that's the sort of the way that I learnt. Although I don't do a lot of 3D machining technically, I'm a bit of a 2D machining nerd, but I really need to extract the digit, if you know what I mean, remove the phalange from the gluteus maximus and start doing a bit more 3D machining over time. And I think, and it looks like your router's a solid little machine. A friend of mine actually has got one of your routers, a gentleman called Rick Bond. He's, if anyone's watching, so anyone's watching on Instagram, Rick Bond's a really cool guy. He's a real bloody geeky nerd guy. He's super smart, and he calls himself the coffee machinist on Instagram. And Rick's also got his fortes in photography as well. That's his traditional.
Mate, he makes those great speakers. I was so surprised to see the amplifier at the Autodesk thing. Every time I talk to him, he's got something new, and I'm like, "You also make that? You also make that?" You know? So he's great. He's a great guy.
Yeah, and Gavin's just typing in Rick's a legend, Jeff Keane from Sydney. So Jeff Keane, if watching, Jeff's a keen motorcyclist. He's also, I think Jeff's a graphic designer by training, and he's an avid motorcyclist, and he's got to hear, couldn't agree more, Ben. Any tips to short?
I can't remember.
So Jeff was the one who actually put me onto Masso Jatinder back in the day.
Okay. All right, okay. Great.
So I actually machined Jeff a CNC conversion kit on my home machine.
Right.
And sent it up to him, and so it was good, pretty cool.
Yeah. So Aaron, how you were saying about first doing a 2D on Ben's machine, and I actually will try to answer this with someone else, because someone was asking that, hey, is there a way to somehow see the interface of Masso? That was an early question, and when you said that, it just reminded me. We're actually doing a joint project with Ben here at Masso. So, and Aaron knows about it. We are setting up a new platform on our website. It's in the process. It's quite a complex project on its own. What we're trying to do is that we're going to have a live machine with cameras, and people can register and actually access the machine in real time. They can see the machine in real time, load their G-code parts, and actually cut parts on the machine. So we're trying to don't have much details yet, but we're trying to do it in a certain way that it's going to have a predefined material on the machine, and it's going to be set up in Fusion 360, and people can make parts, push the design to the Masso, cut it, and hopefully, if it goes well, we can machine little parts, and next thing we can put that in the post and send it to you. So that way you'll have a full access to the machine, and if you want to learn CNC, go online and play with one.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Break our cutters, not your own.
Yeah. Your cutters, Ben. I'm not paying for it.
I actually sent Gavin's put here. Jeff's typed in there. Jeff's Keen from Sydney just said, "Thanks, Aaron. If it wasn't for you, I wouldn't be down this CNC rabbit hole." And Gavin put here, "I'm also a proud recipient of a genuine DCT Teacher One conversion kit." So,
right.
Yeah, thank Christ I machined them properly and they're still running, eh? It would have been bad if they fell apart. Yeah.
And I had another question. Someone was asking about shipping controllers internationally. We do ship controllers internationally. Pretty much every country. We've shipped to, I think, over 45 countries in the last 1 year or so. And recently we started using DHL Express. Their delivery is great. So if you order today, it'll most likely leave today or worst case tomorrow, and generally takes, I would say, 4 days. So if you want to order, go on our website and put your details in, and we ship worldwide.
So where's the furthest place you've shipped to, Jatinder? Like, where's one of the most exotic places?
Okay, I don't even know if it's exotic.
You've shipped to the States, to Canada. You've shipped to China. Or not China?
Yeah, I've shipped to China, to
India. Obviously, you've gone.
Heaps. Yeah, heaps in India.
I shipped to Bhutan. I don't know where it is.
It's next to
I didn't even go and look it up, but it does sound
really
exotic to me.
Yeah. Wow. We've shipped to Russia. We've shipped to Ireland, Norway, Korea. These are some of the names I remember, but most of the orders when they come in, I go on Google Maps and I'm just so curious. I'm like, never heard this name. This is exciting. But most of 95% of the orders, I would say, simply go to US. Like rest of the world, it's 5%. It's just US is big, and also I've realized, first of all, in general, people with CNC, I had a great experience. I know there can be bugs, issues, or feature requests, but people are so patient. They're so excited to put in the input, and they are willing to wait, and they always like giving the input. They're like, okay, we want this feature. I know it's not there, but we'll wait and everything. And I had a great experience. Like I wouldn't be here if people were not so understanding. And every show I go, anything I do, I always try to thank them, because I know I couldn't have done it without them. It's such a thing that you do it together. Rather than saying, hey, it's your thing, it's not my thing, kind of thing. So no, it's been just awesome, and that's how I actually met you guys. I remembered Aaron the first day you called me. I still remember where I was. I went to the city, and I could see the harbor from the window, and you called me, and initially when you called, you said, hey, it's Aaron, and then later you told me you have this channel, and then my brain just went, shit, I couldn't talk. I'm like, wow, why is Aaron calling me? And it took me a while. And
I'm a nobody, Jatinder.
No, mate, no. You don't know. Like I've watched so many of your fusion videos, and that was one thing. But the more we got in touch, we met at exhibitions, and I was in Melbourne, mate. I think that the passion that we all of us share, kind of similar story with Ben. I remember we met at the Maker. Exhibition
at the Maker Fair, Mini Maker Fair in
Darling Harbour. And then Ben was the only one actually who had his machine on the second floor, the first floor. And as I entered, there were just 3D printers, and at that time,
3D printer fair.
It wasn't like a 3D printer, it was like a Maker, but just 3D printers everywhere. So I was going to just turn back. I'm like, just printers everywhere, no use. And I saw there is a router sitting, and then there was Ben, and we had a quick chat, and it's been great since then. So that's the thing.
I didn't even know. Sorry, Ben, I didn't even know of you, buddy, until I went down to Rick's shop, and he goes, "Yeah, I've got this new router." I said, "Oh, well, I'll come down and have a look, mate." And I went and had a look. I said, "Who's making these?" And then when I went to Sydney, that's the first time I met you, when I went to the John Saunders thing, and Jatinder goes, so yeah, mate, we got to pump your Instagram channel a bit more, I think.
Yeah, I think so. Nobody has heard of me. I seem to need to work on my SEO.
About where to get parts in Australia, even people from New Zealand. And I have this guy in Sydney, and even I had no idea. He's an hour's drive from me or something, and I had no idea. Like I've got one of his machines, and it's got those high wind linear rails and everything, and I haven't seen people doing that. It's not like I'm doing this like for this live channel thing, but on small sized machines, no one put these linear rails, and people are generally putting those ball bearing wheels. I don't know what you call them.
That's right. Yeah.
These machines are stiff, and I was honestly so surprised someone in Sydney, making these machines.
Yeah, it's awesome. There's a quick question, guys. Edward Thomas Cigar has asked. First of all, he wants a 25% off coupon with a wink, being cheeky. Then he puts in there, he wants to know a question: is it better to buy from the US distributor or direct? Can you answer that, Jatinder?
Yeah, it's probably your call. It's same. Probably the delivery time is going to be same. Support wise, it doesn't matter. You can email us on support. You can ask them for support if you want. So it does not matter. We also have our Amazon store in US right now. I think we are out of stock in Amazon, so we do keep stock in Amazon USA, and they ship from there.
Okay.
So
you're moving up in the world, Jatinder.
What's that? Sorry,
I said you're moving up in the world.
Yeah. In fact, we'll be setting up on Amazon Japan, Amazon UK, Amazon Canada, and US. I think it's the same. So
big
quite a few. Yeah.
Big J to the A to the G is in the house. Look out.
So you're slowly going there.
What about you, Ben? Or you just ship direct from Sydney, Australia, don't you, mate? You don't.
Yeah, that's right. There's so far not been a lot of call for me to do a lot of international, and I hope there will be more in the future. But to be honest, it's been hard enough work keeping up with local. So
fair enough.
Yeah.
Oh, cool. And a quick question there, Jatinder. Edward wants to know: is there any hardware changes planned?
No, not at this stage. This second version that we're selling called the Maso, that was the whole idea of doing this. So we actually did quite a lot of thinking about how we're going to carry it long term. Yeah. So the hardware on the unit has some extra hardware chips and other things that are not being used at this stage. So what we're doing slowly releasing the software to be able to use it. Also the feedback that we're getting, always for software updates and hardware updates, there's hardly anything in the hardware list that we have at the moment. Okay. So that's really good for us, Now,
there was a really, really early question. I feel very rude because I totally forgot about it. Just when we started the live stream, there was someone asking about something between hard limits and soft limits. I can't remember. Did anyone see that question?
Can you explain the difference, hard and soft limits, and how that is set up? Having some issues with setting them and how they relate to one another.
Okay.
And how do the hard limits relate to homing?
Okay. So just very quickly, and if you have more questions, you can email us. We might be able to do a separate video on that. Basically, with hard limit and soft limits is when you have, let's say, for example, only soft limits. So I'll actually use Ben's machine if I can. So let's say, Ben, what's the maximum of your x-axis here, for example?
That was a custom one. I have no idea.
Oh, I guess it's 300.
It looks 300 from here. For our international guests, it's about 12 inches.
Okay, let's say, all right, so it's, let's say 300 millimeters. So if I home this machine towards here, that's your X0, and that's where you have your homing sensor.
Your hard limit.
No, that's the homing sensor.
Oh, homing sensor, sorry.
It's also used as hard limit. So, but I'll first explain this, the soft limit concept. So the homing sensor basically finds this location and says, okay, that's my X0. And then you actually move the axis manually, and then you see what's the limit of your axis. And you say, okay, it's 300 millimeters or whatever. And you set that as the maximum travel in Maso. So the minimum travel for this will be 0, maximum will be 300. So what's going to happen is every time you try to jog the machine or send a G-code command, if you're jogging, it won't let you jog past that. So the soft limits are watching because it knows that's my maximum travel. It will try to limit over there. And if you give it a G-code that's over 300, so let's say you give it X400, it simply won't move. It'll show you alarm on the screen saying you X soft alarm, telling you that the motion that you've requested, it's beyond the limit. So that's how the soft limits work.
Can you just make your screen bigger, Jatinder? So Chris can't see it on the live stream. We've got Ben showing, and you're down low.
Oh, is it? Okay, it's not automatically changing. Okay, sorry. So it's going to limit to that position. So on the hard limits, we use the homing sensor on one side, and it can be switched, and you can connect another one in parallel on the other side. It's a good idea to keep the soft limits, but just in case something goes wrong with the mechanics or something, the
lost steps, for example.
Great example. Actually, that happens most of the time. And the machine tries to, move more than that limit. So it's going to go and hit that switch and give you a hard limit alarm. And then basically everything's going to stop, and you'll know that you've hit the hard limit.
Mm-hmm. So on that particular machine, the soft limits and the hard limits are physically the same switches. And the only time you would expect to hit the switch is during a homing cycle, and it doesn't error out because it is expecting to hit a switch and find home. At any other time, if you hit a switch, it will be considered a hard limit, which is goodness me, something's gone terribly wrong. Stop everything.
Yeah.
Yeah, cool. So,
but that won't happen usually in your program. If you're posted to the Maso will know not to exceed that limit anyway.
Yeah,
come up with an alarm. Yeah.
Exactly. Every time you try to run any G-code command, it will go through that and check it and let you know.
Which is funny, Jatinda, because on my machining center over there, I'm running that AdTech control. I'll just flip it around to show the people real quick. I don't know if you can see my machine there.
I just switch the camera, to you,
Yeah, can you see my machine? So would you believe that my controller doesn't pick it up? And it was usually in a facing cycle. So if I go to face a really long part, which is outside of my bed, lo and behold, it will go to the end of its travel and then go beep, go out an alarm. So it didn't pick it up before the cycle started. So in the Haas machine, if you go to press cycle start, it'll just immediately alarm out going, no, you exceed your machining boundaries. So it's funny that.
Great. So I think we got to wrap up. The time's up. Sure. I was actually thinking how we're going to cover the 60 minutes, but it looks like it's too less. We probably need more time. So just as a wrap up, first of all, thank you everyone for joining in. I think we have 56 viewers right now. As the first video, this is amazing. I wasn't expecting anywhere near this number. Thanks for your comments, and as I said, keep your comments coming in. You can email, leave your comments here. We'll go through this after the video for the next videos. And if you've missed anyone's questions, we do apologize for that. And we'll try to get back offline for those questions. And Aaron, big thank you to you.
My
Ben,
pleasure. My pleasure. Thank you.
Both of you, coming in, sharing your views. You guys made it so much easier, And it's just been great. Been super excited and awesome. So thank you all.
Yeah. So thanks, guys, and I really appreciate it. And for you guys watching it there, they're probably thinking, "Hang on, why isn't Aaron at work? Is this, No, I don't work Fridays, guys. I'm not pulling a sickie. It would look funny though, wouldn't it, if I was pulling a sickie and I was on a live stream? So a sickie is a sick day here in Australia, guys, where you still get paid, you can stay home. And wouldn't that look embarrassing if I get caught out by the education department? But
don't worry, it's live. Only half the world's watching, mate.
That's right. Well, it's been great chatting to Ben too, and it seems, Ben, you're a great guy. It seems like I've known you forever, and I've only met you once before. So great, mate. I really enjoy it. I love what you're doing up there, and it's great to see such entrepreneurialism, at heart with you, and your machine, and it looks like your machine's very solid. I've seen one. In the flesh, so to speak, at Rick Bond's place. So
it's getting more solid now as well. We've got some pretty good updates to the machine coming shortly, and I'm pretty excited about that. And watch the space.
Oh, good stuff, guys. Well, thank you very much. I really enjoyed it. Thanks for having me on.
Thank you. Thank you. And just a few comments. Some people are saying they missed the show. Don't worry. There's definitely going to be a copy of the show on YouTube for you guys to watch later. We'll be actually putting this on iTunes and on Android channels for podcasts. So, if you're traveling, or something, you can listen while you're driving. So we're going to have all those copies available, and we're going to put all those links for you guys to be able to download the show.
And before everybody logs off there, everyone bash out an idea for what they'd like to see in an upcoming podcast.
Yes, for sure. Yeah,
no worries. All right.
All right, cool. Thank you. Thanks, you all.
Guys.
All right.
Bye. Thanks, Jatinda.
See you later. Bye-bye.